There we go. Okay. If we're lucky. Welcome to another fine episode of Command and Control Power. How are you doing, Sam?
I'm a little tired, but I'm okay.
Yeah. You've been teaching all day again, huh? Is that
Yeah,
right or no?
it's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have been, but and it went a little long today, so my brain's a little shot. You'll forgive me if I'm not as sharp as I usually am.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, that's why we have three of us on the show. So, we usually can
Hey,
pass
where's
the baton
Jerry?
as needed. Yeah, actually, right now we don't. Jerry is checking on the animals, I believe. So he will
Mm.
be joining us very shortly. Let's see here. And I'm just responding to a text. So this is what the listeners tune in for, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Uh,
I guess I'll run this show by myself.
yeah, please. Yeah, jump in anytime. Well, I'll ask you because as we record, it's kind of mid to late January 2026, and
Oh,
we had a Verizon outage. I know Jerry doesn't like to mention that, Sam. I know where you're going with that, but he did mention it last show, so that's on him. But I mentioned the date and time because we're thinking about this Verizon outage, which is pretty widespread. Only what was it last week? I'm just curious, did that affect any of your clients? Did you hear from people? I was surprised to not hear from anyone about it.
I heard from my father-in-law and my dad. Those were the
Okay, there
two
you
people
go.
like, "Hey, I got a question. My
Yeah.
phone is saying SOS." I'm like,
Yep.
"Yeah."
Wow. Yep.
But no
That'll do
clients. Yeah,
it.
it was I think they were pretty informed. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
the news, or whatever, showed them that there was an issue, and I didn't hear from anybody.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, same for me. I mean, I noticed like secondhand basically that there was an issue. I have both, and I mentioned this in a show we just recorded, so listeners can go back and listen to that where we talked also at length about new hardware from Ubiquity and travel routers and bonding your internet connection with Speedify and all kinds of like network related topics. But I mentioned that I have both AT&T and T and Verizon, so I didn't even notice if I was affected. I guess I was
Mm.
literally everybody affected. Do you know the scope of it?
Well, the interesting thing was my father-in-law texted me from my mother-in-law's phone. They're both on Verizon, and their numbers are one number apart. Like, and
Yeah,
his
yeah,
was
yeah.
down and hers was fine.
Huh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, and showing the SOS status as well, and it's
Yeah.
very strange. I mean, they're both hitting the same towers. They're presumably.
Right. Yeah, that's weird. Exactly. I really don't understand cell infrastructure very well. Also, just the fact that like this can even happen, I
Mm.
mean, and again, it was kind of like the recent, I guess, what was it, a Cloudflare outage where, they blamed it afterwards as like on an update. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
this is this is also bad news for the industry because every time some client hears like, oh, a bad update, what's
Yeah.
the like, that's why I don't do updates, and it's just like, oh man, please do updates. But
That's why I'm still on OS 9. I'm
yeah, yeah,
safer that
exactly,
way.
exactly. So I mean, it's just all we need is like more bad news about updates. But I that's what I heard. I don't know if that was like I didn't really read too much into it, but something to do with like a bad update that Verizon pushed out. You always wonder if that's really the reason or not. But
I know. I mean, I heard it was software related, but I mean, it also goes back to, I mean, wasn't an update the issue behind CrowdStrike as well? So
yeah, was that the
that
one I was thinking of? But yeah,
I'm
exactly.
fairly certain that that's what happened with CrowdStrike. And it's just insane to me that something was not vetted and tested before updated
Yeah,
for like
exactly.
the world.
Right.
That's just
Just
like
just
this
deploy to
office.
production. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just push it out to everybody. Yeah. Yeah. Not even just regionally. Not like we
Yeah.
tested it on one one tower or something. Like it just seems like they need to go back and look at their design there. I mean, we've criticized Apple for this and stuff too for various
Yeah.
times, but it's tough. It's I mean, you really need to kind of bake that in, I think, from the beginning when you're designing these kinds of, like update workflows and testing environments and things. But I've always asked for like, some kind of middle way. Like, I don't want to be on the latest beta of anything. And, and I certainly wouldn't recommend that to my clients. And for my clients, I typically want them on the latest public release update for all the reasons we're implying here, like vulnerabilities and things that typically come out and are known by hackers, and Apple patches them, and then you need that patch pretty soon thereafter. But
Yeah.
I would love to be able to say like, give me that update, but not on day one. Give me that update on day 7 or whatever it is, so that inevitably when Apple pushes one of these updates that bricks something, for 10% of people or whatever it is, or maybe this applies to like a Verizon issue like we're talking about, you know Apple can deploy the update, brick 10% of computers, pull the update, and my clients are not affected. And I mean, that's kind of how I roll. Like, I typically vet the update. So I will install it on my 3 test machines. I will, check with the hive mind of Slack and make sure that everybody, other people have tested this out and there's no showstoppers before I manually increment my update that's being pushed out to my clients that are managed. But I
Right.
just mean for like home users or somebody, wouldn't it be great to be able to say, keep me up to date all the time, always install the latest update, but not on day one, like do
Hmm.
it on day 5 or 10 or whatever. So that's what I've been asking for, and I kind of want that to be built into Apple's infrastructure. And I just wonder also, does this apply to somebody like Verizon with all their, like you said, a staging environment or something? Like, there's got to be a way where there's a middle ground to like catch some of these issues.
I would agree. I mean, that's the piece that one of my clients wanted me to do too, is like, because as you're saying, you could either defer entirely for a certain amount of time, or you can enforce before this amount of time, but you can't say between like 5 days. And is that what you're
Yeah,
saying? Like wait
yeah,
5 days, but also install it before 20 days or something like that.
yeah, exactly. That would be ideal, to just be
Yeah.
like in this window, this sweet spot of like, give them a few days to figure out the issue and pull it, so
Yeah.
that my clients don't get that bad update if it happens, but they don't wait forever.
I know. I had to do something like that. Like, so this client that I was mentioning, they wanted to IT team to get the update right away. And then they wanted the rest of the staff to, because we use Nudge for announcing the updates. And they wanted the rest
Hmm.
of the staff to receive Nudge, but only after 5 days after
Yeah,
the update came out. So I always had to like tweak Nudge every time there was an update and say, okay, not yet, but 5 days from now. But it's
right.
kind of similar theories to what you're saying. Like, we want to be on the bleeding edge, but we don't want our users to. But at the
Yep,
same time, we don't want them not updating. And so it's
right.
like this little window of time.
Yeah, and it seems like this should be kind of like built in. Again, this doesn't sound like a very far-fetched request, to be able to do what
Right.
your client wanted or what and like, shouldn't all of these platforms have this option built in where you can just say like, yeah, just I don't know how to even design the UI, but it seems like the way the UI is designed now, I need to like do a lot of math in my head to figure out like what
Yeah.
version and date and criteria and whatever, and like formulate that in some custom like thing that I think I'm making something really fancy. And it just seems like the most basic request that should just be a checkbox. And do you want people to be on the cutting edge? Check here. Do you want these other people in this scope to be in that middle window? Check here. Here these
Yeah.
people can be on betas. Just checkboxes all the way down.
And maybe we'll see it with DDM being so manageable now, or so specific. We'll see. I mean, DDM's come a long way. So it should be, I think there should be some kind of specificity there brought about in the near future. That's my guess, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I mean, I need to learn more about DDM as well. I know Jerry mentioned recently he's been playing with is it called DDM Notify or something like
Oh
that?
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I'm curious. So you're using Nudge to send notifications. Nudge used to be the way to literally nudge someone into using the built-in updater mechanism. But
Yes.
basically stopped using it when Apple stopped supporting being able to click a button in the update mechanism to like actually deploy the update. Because my
Yeah.
clients would see the notification, they'd see the thing that would bring them to the software update, but then Apple puts a big banner at the top, upgraded Tahoe now, it's 26.0, you're ready to go. And,
Right.
I didn't want them to stumble into those kinds of updates. So I just kind of lost interest in Nudge at that point where Apple stopped really supporting that as a mechanism. And I switched to all MDM updates and it was great. And I've been sticking with MDM since then. But now, of course, that's old news. We're talking DDM now. So how do you
Yeah.
kind of, roll with Nudge and DDM, and how do you recommend people get started with that? I.e.
I
me.
don't. I've started to move away from Nudge. Actually, I have two specific clients that I can think of that are using it. One that um, to get this feature in certain MDMs, you got to make some changes, and they haven't done it in their MDM yet. We don't own their MDM,
Okay.
so we have to wait for them to do this new DDM feature update. And for the other one, it's just the way their staff was used to. So they're like, I don't want to change that just yet. And I'm like, all right, but we got a better
Mm,
way.
yeah.
But the ones that we have implemented, the declarative software updates, it has been working out really well because it sets the timer that we want. It
Mhm.
notifies people. Yes, it's just a notification center, which is why Jerry had mentioned DDM Notify,
Okay.
but
Yep.
it kind of, because DDM Notify, I think, and I have not used it, I've read up on it, but I think it just, because DDM updates just use Notification Center, it's kind of easy to miss.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah,
think this
if
is
you're in
like
do
a
not
flash thing.
disturb, you
Yeah.
don't even see that. If you have certain focus modes, you don't even see that. If you're always on a video call, those notifications, yeah, it's very easy to miss that if you don't see it when it pops up.
Yeah.
Jerry's showing off his little DDM doggy there. What's you, you want to tell us about your
In his recording studio.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, never get a dog.
Never get a dog. That's your advice. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. I'm the only one here, and I'm on another floor, and there's mayhem going on.
Gotcha.
I don't know whether it's the UPS guy or whatever, but it was just all hell broke loose.
Oh man. Okay.
But I'm here.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
Good to see you there. Yeah. Well, that's interesting, Sam. So yeah, that's a good point. DDM Notify to, have control over, like, I want a thing in the middle of the screen. I assume it has the option to be like modal, where like it blurs out the background, at a certain point in time, like it forces you to read this message or that kind of thing.
Yeah, Jerry, have you used DDM Notify, or you just been playing around with it, or what?
So it's developed by this fellow by the name of Dan Nelson.
Yeah.
And every week there's about 17 different versions. So he keeps on reiterating, and then there's people who contribute, and it
yeah,
too much for you.
Well, there's nothing that, I mean, there's no, it's stable, but it's like a moving target. So it's very, very difficult for me to find something that I can settle on and then say, okay, I'm going to use this in Outage, and this is the way I'm going to notify I like it. I like the idea, but I need everything to just stop for a little while so I could get a stable environment.
I guess it's called DDM OS Reminder. My bad.
Oh, yeah. I feel like maybe that changed. I don't know. Could be wrong.
Yeah,
it uses Swift dialogue, right? So it probably incorporates the package or something.
Yeah, and you can make it full screen with like a blurred background and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it seems pretty cool. I just have not played with it. That's all. Dan has also done Set Up Your Mac, which has been really good for automated device enrollment. So I like his work. I just haven't gotten a chance to play with this one.
Yeah, and my understanding too is that it will, I think, like essentially scrape or like notice when there's there's an update available through like DDM software updates. Not just like that your Mac is running, version 15.7.2, and we all know that 15.7.3 is out, but in fact that like you've scoped this Mac to require now 15.7.3 through DDM software updates. And so, I believe DDM Notify will, or whatever it's called, DDM OS Notify or whatever, will like notice that, there's a update that essentially you as the administrator has queued up for this particular machine, and that, it needs to be installed by a certain date. And it kind of like uses that, those time ranges and all to help you determine when to display this dialogue, is my understanding. So seems like a better pairing with DDM updates than just like, recreating that in Nudge, essentially, my understanding.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you're going to use something in alongside with DDM, this seems like the tool of choice.
Right. Yeah, that's an area I need to explore, and I think my understanding of these software updates and like the ability to control the version and all that will evolve with that, because I just haven't. Outage supports it. They recommend DDM software update management, but I just haven't played with that yet because MDM has been working really well for me over time. I love these days when I connect to a machine that is enrolled in my monthly plan, it almost always is already up to date. Like that's, to me, like, I mean, I know it sounds so simple, like, and it's not even hard to achieve if you like manually change it to automatically install and whatever, but this gives me control of when these updates go out and all that. And whether I release them or not. So I like that benefit as well. But the fact that it generally means that my fleet is up to date is like, I mean, that's my offering. Like that's one of the key features of my offering, where like we keep you up to date. You don't have to worry about it. If they're not, there's such a contrast. If they're not enrolled in my plan, they're all over the place. They're like 15.6.1. They haven't been restarted in like 50 days. I mean, they're just like all over the place. So I don't know. It's just anecdotal, but like I can't help but notice it constantly when I have a client that's on the plan. They are up to date, and it just means that I don't have to like think about that and check that and worry about that. And as a prerequisite, let's update to see if it fixes this random bug you're having. It's like it's done. We just jump right into the solution. So yeah, it's just a great thing to have.
That's how you got to sell it to your non-managed clients. Be like, listen, you guys are all over the place. You got to get with my other team that's like much better managed, and just yell at them a little bit and see if they go for it.
Exactly. I will say we don't talk about this much on the public show in as much detail, but lately, so fall, I had a really good like quarter for signing up, clients to my subscription plan. This is why a lot of this stuff is on my mind lately. I had, basically 2 new clients sign up and 2 longtime clients also sign up. And the longtime clients, one of them just said, "Yeah, I think I should probably." What was that thing you mentioned back in the, and they like just proactively asked me about it. I said, "Yeah, great." And they signed, and I couldn't believe it. They actually signed up. And another one was a client who kind of like walked away at a certain point because we weren't ready to drop everything and help them because they were not on a plan and we were busy, and we kind of pitched the plan at the time and said, you really should be on. Anyway, they walked away and they walked back to us recently and said,
that's always good.
I think it's time we sign up for your plan. So it was like really reassuring to have those. And then this quarter, we're in winter now. We also had 2 more clients sign up from it, and these are residential clients, not like huge multiples per month, but
still
every
nice.
little bit. Yeah, it's very nice, and it adds up, and it's very, very reassuring when people are like, "Yeah, we like your offering, let's do it." So I wanted to just throw that out there. I'm curious what you guys have seen on that, and then I have one other question for you on just client stuff. But Sam, how are you doing? I know you lost one. I think you gained one. You kind of, seems to be always in flux a little bit, right? But how's it going overall?
Lately there's been a lot of flux, and it's starting to shake itself out and be okay, but it's just like, I hate that, it's just,
Yeah,
especially bigger clients that you might have, and if they leave your practice, it's really a tough blow, but
yeah,
then there's the client. We just had someone that was a billing administrator for one of our customers. She had left that company, got a job somewhere else, and remembered us and gave us a call. And
wow.
I think like an 8-person office, which was great. And she's like, "Yeah, I've remembered you guys from your email address." And she emailed Jay because he was the one sending her the bills.
Okay.
And then we sent her our plan, and they're like, "Sure, let's do it." Like, not even like,
love that.
Yeah. I was like, "Oh my God, this is beautiful."
That's so
not
great.
even blinking an eye. I was like, why can't they all do that and understand how valuable it is?
Totally. Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? You know what it is? I'm too visible on the internet. If you do a search for Apple support, I'm there too many times. I'm just
MacWorks LLC, MacWorks.net.
People are like, "Oh, this has got to be a scam. This guy's all over the Google first page." I'm not calling them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, that's great, guys. I mean,
yeah. Not to brag, Jerry. We're not trying to like be, but because that's
just
really the exception.
Just grind me into the ground. Just...
No, what Sam is saying is the exception, but it does happen every once in a while, and you just think to yourself, that was easy. And that's the way it really should be, and especially like, 8, 10, 20 person company. Sometimes the benefit is like, they know they need something, like they, not having a support contract in place is not an option in their mind. Like they just expect it. So that's an automatic, like that's a very easy sell. Like they know us, or especially if they know us, then it's just a match. But if versus paying somebody a little less or a little more or whatever it is, that's an easier negotiation if they just know they have to pay something for this kind of relationship, versus the like, I can figure this out mostly. That's the harder sell when they're like, well, let's see, I can pay you 0 and I can install updates, and like they don't really get it,
I can pay you 0.
Yeah, that's like, when you're competing against 0 and they think they're gonna just roll their own and like figure it out and it's gonna be like quote unquote fine. That's a hard sell. And Jerry, I totally sympathize if that's like most of, because that's, for me, most of these calls are like that,
Yeah, and anybody who reaches out to me, I'm happy to answer their questions. And I frequently couch their answer in a way like, this is why it would be really beneficial for you to sign up with our plan. Not only do we offer you this instantaneous service almost, where we can answer your questions, your quick fixes, But you get all this other stuff too. And,
Yep.
they're like, well, no, we're okay. We're only in the internet. We don't have
Wishy-washy.
banking.
Yep.
Uh,
I know.
and it's also the challenge is new work. Just not getting the work. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I wonder if
Change
there's
the color to my website,
Did you?
got rid
Still.
of the magenta looking color. And the reason why I went with magenta, I originally had chosen a Facebook blue, which is what most people use and is supposed to symbolize trust. Go figure, right? Facebook.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Big
know
trust.
who said that, but a competitor of ours was using blue on their website, so that was already
Oh.
taken. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with the magenta or whatever. And I hated the color, and I figured like, okay, I'm blue. All the calls are going to come in now. Stand back.
Hey, I saw your website change to magenta. Like,
Yeah, I'm in.
I need, yeah, I'm all in. Like, yeah, where do I sign? No, I mean, it's always good to refresh that just for like it's a facelift. It's like looking at, like, oh, how did I position this? Can I improve the wording? Whatever. Like, I go through that on a pretty regular basis too. But
yeah, I noticed you made some changes to your website, Joe. I
did
was
you
snooping
notice?
around. Yeah.
And yet
Yeah.
you still haven't signed up for my plan. So
I know. I can't afford it. All I do is browse the internet. I do a little online shopping at Amazon. I don't really need your plan.
You don't really need your plan. Yeah.
What am I paying for anyway?
Yeah, what am I
you're
paying
billing
for?
me X amount of dollars a month. What
Yeah.
am I paying for? I don't understand it.
You sound like my last phone call. That's amazing.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly.
It's really frustrating at times to have those kinds of calls. Like the one I just talked about, as you said, was an exception. Then there are plenty of those calls where it's just like, yeah, I don't, what are we really getting?
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
And it's hard because you want to, sorry, Joe, but you want to be a little bit invisible because that means things are smooth. But the smoothness, like sometimes hurts you because like, oh, things are fine. Why are you guys here? Like, why do we need you?
Exactly. Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think that, we've talked about this on other shows too, but, anytime you can be visible, like with your, maybe you should show off the dog as your mascot, Jerry.
Yeah.
That's, presents very well there.
Show a dog in front of a computer keyboard as your, default image.
Yeah. Aw. But, we'll get, this comes up where when we're doing an update, we're talking about, whatever it's DDM notify or something else to pop up a prompt that shows your logo and what needs to happen. Or, hey, there's an update for Firefox. It's your logo and it's coming from Patch or whatever, a notification center. Anytime you can show your logo, at least they know like you're doing something for them, to the point where some people think, oh, hey, did you install an update on my computer? I'm like, I didn't go on your computer. Like, this is just, an automatic thing. Like you explain, kind of what actually happens. But I won't always say it like that. I might just say, yes, there was an automatic update on this day. I'll go in and look in the events log or whatever. So any way you can be visible helps there. But the initial sale is the trickier part for me, where these ones I'm talking about, I'm sitting here bragging about, these few clients. Like I said, 2 were new, great. But of the others, 3 of them over the last, again, we're talking 2 quarters, so over the last, 4 or 5 months as we speak, there were, 3, half the clients were like very long arcs to sell. Like they've been clients for a really long time. And in some cases, they expect that kind of service. Like, I can just call you with questions anyway, right? Well, yeah, and if we're available, best effort, whatever. But sometimes they have to wait, and sometimes they don't care. And, eventually, though, years later, literally like many years later, they finally say, I think I should have that plan. Because usually they get scared because they've been hacked. They're not following our security best practice, and they're getting these inundated with spam emails now because somebody's running a scam on them, and whatever's happening, something's compromised, and they're freaking out. And they know that, number one, they know we could have probably prevented that if they were more engaged with us. They know that, they want to have a relationship with us when something like this happens. And they want to know that, hey, this is what I'm paying for. You're there picking up the phone because we have this relationship. I pay you monthly, so I know I trust you're there when I need you. That's, I think, that's what sells it, I think.
Yeah.
And we don't like to say that, like, well, it'd be a shame if we weren't here to answer your call. Like, we don't like to make it like that, but we do say, we're busy right now and we have to leave space for our SciMac Prime clients because they pay for the privilege of that kind of priority. And, hey, how's next week? Right. And so
Yeah.
sometimes they do get the message over time, like, I really should be paying for this privilege where I really want him to be there, want them to be there when I call. So that's what I think has made these sales. The other one, we talked on the show recently, maybe maybe a month or two ago, about like how rare, were we talking on the show, or maybe I was just talking to Tim about it, how rare it is to have a Windows to Mac switcher anymore. Have you guys
Hmm.
like had one anytime recently that you can think of?
If we have one that's like, well, one that we haven't hooked yet, that is
Okay.
Windows, that are saying they are wanting to move to Mac, but I don't know how serious they are. But yeah, I guess that's
Okay.
a good point, Joe. I don't
Yeah,
know that I've
right.
seen that in a while.
We went through a wave years ago, where it was pretty steady. I mean, a few per year or like every couple months,
Yeah,
whatever. But and I mean, there was probably a point in time where Apple's marketing was really focused on that, and that was more like, there's low hanging fruit here. Mac is a great option now, and a lot of people don't know that, and there are Windows, and there's the I'm a Mac and I'm a PC commercials and all
love
that.
those.
So yeah, I mean, so there was a time where that was, there's a lot more of those out there that are like candidates, but I just like was, again, forgot if we talked about it on the show, or I was definitely talking about with Tim though recently about like, when was the last time we had a Windows to Mac switcher? Like I just couldn't even remember the last one. And then I bring this up because I've had two in the last month
Hmm.
Windows to Mac switchers. So I don't know if this is going to be a start of a trend or just, whatever. But what about you, Jerry? I mean, you must get some of those every once in a while, no?
I want you to convince me on why I should use
That's right.
Mac.
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah,
I've heard Mac is really good,
yeah.
but I've always thought it was Mac was for the home and the PC was for business. But I want you to convince me why I should switch to
Well,
Mac.
okay, let's play a game. Convince me, Jerry. What would you say to that? I know you don't like to, you don't like to bite when they say that. You don't like to say, "Oh, I'm going to tell you why you need to switch to the Mac." You just say, "If you don't know already, I don't want to like force your hand and have you maybe be angry later that you never should have gone through with this." Is that kind of more your vibe, or do you have a script you like to follow to say, "Yeah, I'll tell you why it's great."
No, Joe, I'm not going to role play with you and be your poodle.
Okay.
He's
Okay.
I'm
already got
sorry.
a dog in his hands.
I've got a dog that I've got one poodle to deal with as it is. No, what I think, the observation I was going to make was I get around a PC pretty well. I know Windows 10, I know Windows 11, I know pretty
12.
much.
You good with 12?
I'm not good with 12.
Whatever it takes. Yeah. No.
But going to regedit, or not regedit, what is it called, the registry, and all
Yeah.
that
Right.
stupid stuff. I'm
Right.
not good with PowerShell commands and that sort of thing, but I cannot get over how complicated that frigging operating system is to run, and how these people have this comfort level running their work on a PC, and they don't know how to run their PC to begin with, but it's just like so ridiculous compared to a Mac. But how do you convey that to someone? That's a real challenge. So I'm not a Mac evangelist, and I'm not going to convince somebody on PC to make that switch. How did your switchers? By the way, Apple still supports switching very, very well. They have a migration assistant which works
Yeah.
wonderfully well. I probably used that about a year and a half ago, maybe, um, from a PC to a Mac. But how did your people that you were dealing with, Joe, how did they arrive at deciding they wanted to make that switch, and how did they find you in that way?
One of them was a referral from the Apple Store, and this is something I
Hmm.
mentioned
Wow.
recently too, where I know you don't hear that very often. There's a lot of eye rolling and shade thrown at the Apple Store about, where are my referrals? I'm a member of the Apple Partner Network. I want my referrals. Like, and we sit back and wait like entitled people saying, I
Was
should
that an
be.
impression of me, Joe?
No, no, no. That is an amalgamation
Because
of
it sounded a
all.
lot like me.
Did it really? Okay,
It
maybe I
did.
should
Even the
should
dog perked up.
The dog's like, Jerry?
Dad, yeah, yeah. No, that is something that you read in, Slack, or you hear from
Yeah,
colleagues. Like,
of course.
it's, I mean, really, actually, what the impression I was doing was, where are my coupons? There used to be like, we get the discount coupons on new hardware, and, everybody wants the coupons, and that's the only reason they signed up for the ACN back in the day or whatever. And so, and I'm acting extra cynical here, but, everybody just wants to feel entitled to, like, what has Apple done for me lately kind of thing. And it's a two-way street, as we've said, and there's a lot more on Patreon about this too, but I think the best thing you can do to foster this relationship with your local store is make sure you're reciprocating. Either take care of that client that they send you that you'd rather just say, you know this person sounds like it's going to be a lot of work, and they're not going to be easy to work with. Well, sometimes I bite the bullet and I just try to, like, help them out, because I know they came from Apple, and the feedback's going to get back to Apple that, wow, that could have gone sideways. I'm really glad we called you. That's what I want Apple to think of, when they hear
Hmm.
Yeah.
from that person again. But more so, custom store program, baby. Let's, like, get set up for a custom store with your bigger, 5, 10 person and up clients, even the smaller ones. If they want to buy a few Macs all at once, it's worth it to go through the process to make sure you're speccing the right hardware and stuff. Um, that also puts you on Apple's radar as a source of sales. You're now, actively recommending Apple hardware to your clients, and their purchase is going to go through the local store. So that helps the local store, frankly, meet their metrics or whatever they need to do to be in good standing with Apple corporate. I'm assuming they have to sell a certain number of computers to stay in business, right? So, essentially that's helping them out by funneling those sales to them and just being on their radar with those transactions. So that's how I think I'm getting some of these referrals. And it's not just like automatic, like, hey, I sent you all these, iMacs, 5 iMacs were purchased in the last couple months. Like, where's my referrals? It does not work like that. It just is something that, again, you foster over time. And it's very much depends on who's in the Apple store on the business team and whether they remember you and think of you. And, also, I will credit Apple for really reaching out to me. Like years ago, there's a relationship I have with a couple local stores where they reached out to me, like, when the first few sales came through me to the store, and they're like, hey, we just want to understand a little more about, what you offer. Like, what's your ideal client? We had, like, just an informal phone conversation, and I described a few. I'm like, we're really big in the interior design market for some reason. Like, we've got a bunch of these clients that are in this field. Here's how we help them. Here's how they work. We do everything from, managing an on-premises server for a, company that has, big files living on a server, like video editing or whatever, to, managing Microsoft 365, to, installing unified networks and all that. You give them a sense of what you do. They don't know. They don't have time to, like, Google you and, like, listen to the show and, like, figure out, who you are and whatever.
Right.
You've got to tell Apple, like, how they, when should they think of you? Like, this person's in the store, they're kind of hard to work with. They think of me, because I sometimes work with these people that are difficult or whatever. So anyway, that's how I've fostered this relationship over the years. And that is where one in particular Windows switcher came from. So, she found her way to the Apple store. She probably had a friend tell her, hey, it's about time you get a Mac. And it was a little bit complex because, yes, as Jerry said, you have this really sweet, Windows to Mac migration that Apple supports. But there were some complications. There's, technically there's already, I forget, in one case, different client, there was already, like, a really old iMac, but then the current computer was Windows, but they needed to migrate, like, from both the Mac and the Windows machine. So that's not something that they'll figure out themselves or that Apple will help you with, probably. In the other case, they had, like, they were using OneDrive and they had a bunch of stuff there, but it wasn't on the PC. But there was stuff in all these different locations that were not part of the migration process. Anyway, we had to basically, like, consolidate data and migrate some stuff that was in Outlook, some stuff that was, files that were in random locations on the system, plus OneDrive to the Mac. And I mean, it's a white glove service, as we say. It's
Did,
more of a boutique offering. Yeah.
did you have to do any like PST migrations, like old school? Like I forget what I used to use back in the day. It's
It's a
like
good
Alchemy. What was
question.
it?
Email Chemi or whatever. Email Chemi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I've used that before as well. No, I think I can't remember if this was already on the server, but there was a lot of work we did on the Windows system. So this was I had to brush up on Windows a little bit,
Yeah.
but moving stuff in random, like, offline, local folders or whatever, to, like, moving contacts to the server, and, like, just different stuff like that to make that part of the process easier.
What's that app? It's PC to PC, but I know you've used it in the past, and this is not relevant to what Joe's talking about. But what is it called? PC Mover? Is that what it's called, Sam?
That sounds
You,
familiar.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the one. Yeah,
yeah,
like I
I
think they
will
sell
use
it
that.
like with a proprietary cable too or something.
Yeah, I used that a few
Yeah.
years ago. Still works really darn well. Well worth
Yeah,
the money.
So
agree.
you do you
100% makes it
you
really
do this
easy.
stuff, Jerry, PC to PC or like PC to VM, or what's your kind of like you still get into that kind of stuff?
Oh, no job is refused here, Joe.
Okay.
Except if you, except if you sound kind of loopy on the phone, I'll take a pass. But
Fair. That's very fair.
Send them to us.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I step in. Um, yeah,
I,
it's go ahead.
Joe, just talking about the referrals and how to treat them and stuff like that. I was thinking about you the other day because I got a referral from the Apple Store, and admittedly, I was doing a few different things, so I wasn't that engaged in the conversation. But it was like a half-hour call of me not saying a word. It was
Okay.
like 29 minutes of this person just talking,
Huh.
and I was like,
Interesting.
"Wow."
This was a
Like,
client or like a
just a
rep?
potential,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Wow,
I've had that.
that is impressive."
Yeah.
Just like
And it's
amount
like
of time.
what's your action item at the end of that? Like, you just kind of you just received a bunch of info from them and you're like, okay, so what do we
Yeah,
do now? Yeah.
and once I was able to focus, because like I said, I was coming from two different or a different location, but then
Mm,
we sat down and talked a little bit more. But it ended up being like an hour phone call, and I
mm.
don't know that it'll turn into anything. Person was very nice,
Yep.
nothing bad at all. But
Yep.
I was thinking about you, and you're like, hour and a half, 2 hour free calls and stuff, and just
Yeah,
like
exactly.
yeah,
I was
that's
like,
Joe's
"This is
MO.
Joe."
That's yeah. Jerry calls that my sales process. Hour and a half free call and no client signing at the end. That's my sales process. Yeah, but I make it up in volume, and it's
Yeah,
just as the saying goes. Yeah, it's tricky, man. It's a test of patience,
it
and
is.
you know.
Uh, this is not about new clients, but I have to tell this because it's been on my mind. It's about a client, but not anybody new. I've had this person in my life for years and years. It's like the spouse of someone of a company we used to work with that's now since gone. And he's like, I don't know, late 70s, really great guy. I truly enjoy hearing from him, nice gentleman. But we were going back and forth for a while about his connection for his charging for his Mac not working, or was going on and off and working sometimes and not the other. And he's always interesting. He uses interesting words. He's like, the receptacle where I put it in is not, taking the charge. And so it took me a while to figure out, is this USB-C? Is this MagSafe? What's the issue? Because he was trying to
Right.
describe it. I had him try and send me pictures. He bought new cables. Nothing was working, right? And or he bought new bricks, I should say. And so I finally got a FaceTime call with him going. I'm like, all right, let's take a look at this together. Let's have a look what's going on. And he's like, all right, I'll show you because I still didn't know if it was MagSafe or USB-C. So he takes it off and he shows it on FaceTime, and it's MagSafe. I'm like, oh, okay, great. He's like, yeah, but sometimes I connect it, it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. And I look at it, I'm like, is there something on there? And he's like,
Hmm.
and he's looking closely because he's an older gentleman. He's like, there's like a little piece of Scotch tape just like covering part of it. And
Wow.
he's like, well, I'll be. He goes,
I'll be.
and he takes
Nice.
off the little tape and he plugs in and he's like, it's working. He
That's
just
really
had like a
funny.
little remnant of tape that he never saw on this thing. And I was working with like weeks just texting back and forth. I thought it was
Wow.
hysterical that was the fix, but I just
I've
had to
seen
share
it where
Yeah,
little
go on.
metal filings will get
Yes.
caught
that. Mm,
on the computer because that's where the magnet is inside
yeah.
that little MagSafe interface. And sometimes I've had
Totally.
to, you have to be careful, to take something plastic or wooden like a toothpick to kind of try to flick them off, and they're clinging to
Yeah.
the magnet,
Yeah.
Right.
but that can cause a problem too.
I
Yeah.
didn't think about that. I haven't had that happen, but that makes total sense.
I've seen that in the past too. Yeah, where yeah, those little metal filings, like, or a staple, like whether it's
Yeah.
unused or
Sure.
not, or like something
Yeah.
really thin and like that, and you can miss it. Especially the just random little, like Jerry's saying, filings. They stick there and you can't even see them some of the
The
times.
other thing that's observational, most recently, and it kind of annoys me on my newish computer, is that MagSafe connector will start to sort of wear a little bit around the edges. It's not quite
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
it's not quite square, and
Yeah.
it's not square anyway, but it'll start to get wear as you connect it, disconnect it.
That's
And it still
interesting.
makes a good connection, but visually it looks worn across the top where the chamfer is, that
Yeah.
on either side.
Hmm.
The
It's kind of like
chamfer
a thing that
chomper.
you wouldn't expect to see that with an Apple product, like something
Yeah.
that visually signs wear. I mean, you see visual wear when on a keyboard, and from the oil from your hands or whatever will wear down keys.
I'll show
But what
you
are you going to show us here, Joe?
I'll show you visible wear. I mean, you see this case? This is an Apple case, okay?
Is
Well,
it
this
leather or
started.
is it rubber?
No, it's just crap. I don't know what it is. It's plastic. It's
This is
plastic.
crap.
No,
Well,
but it's rubberized, right? It's grippy, right?
yeah. Well, yeah. It's tacky
Right.
or
That's what I
whatever. Yeah.
use, and
Okay.
they lose. Yeah, they start to break off, flake off.
Yeah, they flake off.
Right.
That's why.
Joe just got
No,
pissed off.
I'm pissed off because it's just it looks so like whatever the opposite of premium is,
Right.
like I paid good money for this iPhone. Okay, I'm sorry, it's last year, not last year, it's the year before. This is the 2024 iPhone. Can you believe I'm still carrying this around, Jerry?
Like an animal.
I mean,
I
how do
can.
I not justify buying whatever the new? Anyway, you know why? Because I couldn't decide between the Air and the Pro, so
Get
I
the
just gave
Pro.
up on it. Yeah, so I kept my Pro from my whatever model. This is the 16 Pro. Okay, iPhone 16 Pro. Been in a case since day one. Apple premium product here. This case. The case is like $40, right? You'd think
Hmm.
for 40 whole dollars that Apple could make a product that serves the purpose of enclosing my phone to keep my phone safe, right? Isn't that, I mean, what is a case supposed to do? That's what it's supposed to do, right? Keep the phone safe, like,
Yeah.
enclose the phone. Well, why does the case start chipping off in the
Hmm.
corner
Yep.
and wearing away, where now the corner of my phone is no longer being protected by a case because the case couldn't even protect itself? Okay, so I I am upset about this because this is not new. This issue like started to occur like week 3 or something of having this case. And I'm like, oh, am I like just really, am I a klutz? Like I just dropped the phone and like Apple, you're dropping it wrong. Like you shouldn't drop the phone. Like you
You're
can't drop the
dropping.
phone.
Nice.
Like if
That's
you
a
need,
good classic reference right there,
maybe I
right?
need to get a case for my case. If I want to risk dropping the phone in the case, I need a case to protect the case apparently, because a
Hmm.
$45 case or whatever it is not protective enough. Anyway, I'm clearly upset about this because it's not just me. It's apparently Jerry and my wife with this Apple case. The case just falls apart in your
And
hand.
you go into the store and they won't make good on it. They're like, no, that's wear and tear.
Yeah,
That's
expected, like,
normal.
right. So
That's
now because
terrible.
of how it wore away, this is my cynical take on planned obsolescence or whatever, but it wears away in the corner, so it kind of like doesn't quite stay in the case fully because it wants to like, I mean,
Mm.
it's kind of fine, but like it's just not, like it's not doing the job that I bought the case for. And I know, okay, fine, it's like over a year old. I mean, what am I doing, right? But that doesn't sound so excessive to
It's
me that,
designed to make your phone
yeah,
fall out of the case so you buy another one.
another case, another phone, right.
Or have an
It's you
Apple
just,
Carry pair.
yeah, right. Well, again, and that's why I used to just like, going commando, as we joked about at Aces, Sam. Like,
Yeah.
or it's like, it's like you might as well just have your phone be a phone and have Apple Care Plus, and if you crack it, whatever, you just buy. There's your case money. It goes toward your
But you
Apple
don't
Care
get that
incident fee.
delicious trade-in value when you upgrade.
Yeah, if it's cracked. No, I mean I'm sure I walked listeners through this at one point, but my wife had an iPhone, 12 Pro or something, just when she got this phone. Anyway, the 12 Pro is like 3 or 4 years old, still protected by Apple Care, and I paid the incident fee to have the front and back or fixed. Like just sent me a brand new phone. You can even do an advanced replacement, so I got the new phone and I traded the new replacement phone into Apple, or into Apple, like through AT&T, whatever the plan was, to get like $800 off. So I paid, 80 or $100, I forget what the incident fee was, for a brand new phone to trade in to get the full replacement value, the full trade-in value of $800. So it was a really
Mm.
good deal, even
Yeah,
then. But she had it in a case and it was still broken. So anyway, but you
dude,
can't win, you know.
this is not comparison, like, because this was my own doing, but I just got the 17 Pro, and I got it because my son, who has one of my older phones, was like a 14. The battery life just started to deplete too much, and I'm like, I'm not gonna pay that anymore, so I'll just give him my old phone and I'll get the 17 because I hadn't upgraded. So I couldn't decide on a case. So I get my new phone. I look around for a little while on Amazon. I finally pick a case. I have it for 2 days without a case. I
Oh
had
no.
something. Yes, I was wearing shorts at the gym. I had something urgent I had to attend to. I ran out. Comes out of my, just boom, on the cement.
Yep.
And I'm like, you gotta be effing kidding me.
Of
I
course.
was
Yeah.
so pissed. But it's not cracked, but it just looks, it's beat up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you didn't fix it?
No, because it's nothing cracked. It's just the edges got, like, dented.
Barked up.
And
Yeah, you won't get a good trade-in value now.
well, I don't know, because the last one I traded in was my son's, and they said any condition, and I got $900 for it. So who knows?
I'm not sure what case you got, Sam, but I did this research on Amazon for my prior phone. I don't know why I went with the Apple one this time. I thought, well, it's nice. It has a little subtle Apple logo on
That's
there.
because I
It was
recommended
nice.
it to you, Joe, I believe, on a show.
The Apple one, or
Yeah, the rubber one there, the Apple rubber one. That's the one
The
I've
rubber
been
ducky.
using
it's just like,
forever.
yeah. I mean, I do like having a case these days because it's just the hand feel and like being able to place it on certain surfaces where otherwise it would slide and whatever. Anyway, I don't mind the case, and I thought Apple of all companies would make the best case. It'd be like still very attractive, and it would do the job of a case. But my previous phone, I think, did better in this Spigen case or whatever,
Spigen.
SPIGEN. So I used two of those, for two different phones, the 12 Pro and the 13 Pro. I used those for those phones. And then I forget if I used this one for my 15 Pro, the Torras, Torras. Those were all great, no complaints, and these are like much cheaper than what Apple charges. So, $16 for like in one case, and 24 in the other case. So anyway, but yeah, cases, they're not all the same. And I have to say, I don't recommend the Apple one anymore. Why did I get on that topic of, Apple stuff breaking or something? Jerry mentioned something, it hit a nerve, I think.
Yeah, I know. You got all fired up as soon as he said something. It
Man,
was pretty funny, actually.
sure
You
did.
changed
Yeah.
demeanor very
I
quickly.
know. It's like, it's been on my mind about this case. Every time I pick it up, I'm like, how can Apple not make a case that just is a case and doesn't become less of a case over time? Like, why? Just seems like a simple request. I don't know. I'm not very tough with the phone, I'm not rough with it. Anyway,
If you don't mind, I got a completely unrelated
please.
question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Do
it a
you?
quiz?
It's not a quiz. Oh, although I think I do have something of a quiz. I don't know if this will be a quiz. All right, let's try this. Let's do it live. So I had a client that used to use Proofpoint for email scanning, and they used a very old version of Proofpoint with Microsoft 365, where they had to change the MX records and flow that mail through Proofpoint. So every time you look at Microsoft settings and domain, it says your MX records are configured incorrectly.
Right.
So we moved them over to a new platform, and the day of the switch, I switched the MX records. Everything went fine, and it was good for like a week. Then I had Jay on my team actually officially cancel Proofpoint, and as soon as he did that, like clockwork, mail started. They were getting failure to send messages saying they were not authorized to send these emails, and so the whole domain was effed. So, besides the MX records, and we're talking Microsoft, does anyone know where else I had to go to resolve it?
So not a C name change?
No, there's nothing DNS related that was wrong. I changed the right MX records.
Oh man. Well, then it's got to be something in the Microsoft portal about yeah, I don't know.
It's too bad we don't have
Yeah.
live listeners.
It
Yeah.
it's yeah, no, he had to go into Proofpoint and disconnect the connection somehow. Right?
No, I had to do it in Microsoft. So Joe is on
Oh,
the.
Okay.
okay. All right.
It's not coming to me the like the screen or
Did you
yeah,
need to
like
revalidate through
oh,
Microsoft once you changed the DNS
good question.
Good
DMX
thought.
records?
Good thought. But no, I did validate them correctly, and it worked. But
Okay.
it was somewhere else in Microsoft. I don't know if you guys want me to tell you.
You had to defrag the hard drive?
That was later. That was
Yeah.
once we got things up
Too
and
many
running.
icons on the desktop?
We used Norton Disk Doctor to get everything working.
Nice.
again.
Computers needed a general cleanup?
All right.
So
I'm,
it
What
was.
else,
I'm
Sam?
out of ideas.
Yeah. Conflict catcher. Conflict catcher. Okay,
Those
go ahead, Sam.
ideas have been the same ideas for the last
Yeah,
decade.
I know, yeah. Decade, like 30 years. Okay, go ahead. What
Oh,
is
we've
it?
only
Tell us.
been doing the show a little bit longer than a decade.
Sam, can you tell us what the answer was and also give us the last three names that Microsoft used for this feature?
Was it like Purview or like
Yeah.
security or-
Yeah. Yeah. Get
It was
translated
actually
to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was an Exchange Admin Center under Mailflow rules, and there were
Mail
old,
flow. That's the term I
yeah,
was trying to think of. Mail flow.
right,
But
yeah.
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
And I had not,
Rules.
I had thought that Proofpoint was so old that it was just MX, and it was my fault. I just completely was like, okay, we're good, and then it didn't rear its head until we canceled it, and then those Mailflow rules stopped.
Oh wow.
So
And-
you had originally put in those mail flow rules according to Proofpoint installation back in the day.
We must have, or actually, no. Now that I think about it, it was, this was like, I don't know, it has to be 8, 10. I don't know how many years ago it's been in existence, but many years. But one of the employees' spouses worked for as a consultant with Proofpoint, and that's how they got it set up. And he's the one that set it up. So I'm just throwing blame now that I
there
can.
you go. Yep.
And I didn't know to look there, but it's kind of my fault still.
Yeah, but if you didn't do it, how would you be expected to undo it, what you didn't do?
Yeah, especially
following the
since
instructions.
Yeah. But especially after MX record changes did nothing. I was like, all right, cool, it's working now, you know?
Right, it
Yeah.
still works. Exactly.
Yeah.
We went through this. I'll stand right alongside you, Sam, with making mistakes or, not knowing right away what the issue is. So we had a client, we were testing Exclaimer, that's what you call it, right? The signature management thing. So we thought, oh, this will be cool. We can, because the client wants us to manage their signatures on all these different devices across all their employees. And they've been manually doing this for so long. We said, there's a service for this. So it might be time to actually use a service. So we said, we're just exploring this for you. So we'll put it on like a test account and we'll set it up and test it and we'll get it all dialed in for you. So the first thing we're testing it with, you set it up and you flag just one particular account. You can either do like a group or all accounts, just like including new ones that get added, whatever, or you can test with we just said, let's just do this one account. So it's not going to affect anybody else. So we set up the one account. We're testing it. We didn't like the fact that if you upload an image, it just attaches the image to every email. We thought like, oh, it would host it for you or whatever. So, we've got to just roll our own, basically put it on the client website and then, reference that, image location, like in the code.
Really?
I think that's my learning, and few of our colleagues validated that on Slack. So we got to that point and we sort of just said, all right, let's put this aside. We'll come back to this. So this was during a trial period for Exclaimer, and we, left our testing in place and we said, we'll come back to this. So I guess a month or whatever amount of time goes by and the client reaches out to us and says, we can't send email. And we're like, oh crap, what's going on here? And we start to like look into this and we realized that Exclaimer had expired. And like your situation, I'm pretty sure it's a mail flow thing where you're basically telling, all the email to flow through Exclaimer because it has to like add the signature and send it on its merry way. So, now I know that. And, I wasn't the one testing it, but, nevertheless, it was our fault is the point. Like why they, for a time couldn't send mail. So we figured out pretty quickly, but that was the explanation. And it goes to show you, like, even though we said, oh, it's only this one user that we're setting up, of course, everybody's flowing through Exclaimer, and then Exclaimer expired, so that
Wow.
stopped working, and they stopped being able to send mail. So that was, yeah, that was my little example
That's
of
crazy how
whoops.
that can happen. I mean,
I
just to
know.
think about it makes sense, but just how like
Yeah.
everything can stop because like your signature vendor expired and now
Yeah.
like no communication.
Well, look at
And
that.
it
It's a single point of failure too. So now,
Yeah,
you're sort of like, your single point of failure is no longer Microsoft.
right.
It's actually Exclaimer. If they fail, you're done. I mean, probably also
right.
Microsoft now. So it's like two
Is
points
that
of
good? And the
no.
other thing that Sam identified was that they don't host the image. I mean, if you
Yeah,
sign up for something like
exactly.
WiseStamp, they're
Oh,
hosting the
okay.
images for you.
I
Yeah,
was looking
that's why I was
for
surprised.
this is great. Okay, I'm gonna make a note here because this is what I wanted to know. I asked, in fact, on Slack about this, saying, okay, is there something better, basically? Because everybody else was saying, yeah, no, you have to like basically stick it in a directory on the client website. It has to be a public web server. You can upload a PNG or whatever, to the client's web server. It's not linked anywhere internally, but it has to live in a directory that their web developer is not going to say, oh, I'm not using any of these images.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay, you stick it there and then you reference that. But then for every email going back in time, maybe 10 years from now, like you still need to manage. In theory, you want that image to live forever on that website at that exact location. So it
Yeah.
certainly would seem to be better if you're going to just like pick a signature vendor and use them forever, just to have them host that as well. You know?
Plus, it eliminates a lot of hassles too if they're hosting the image, because a lot of times, these images for whatever reason are flagged by another mail carrier that it's not
Right.
legitimate. And how many times have you gotten an email from a client and it's in the spam folder and you look and in their signature, they're still referencing their website as HTTP :
Yeah. Good
instead of
point.
S. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. That's
Nice
definitely an
classic
issue.
move there. That's
Yeah. You,
crazy.
you brought that up at one point, Jerry. I think about that was an issue with, like, yeah, with mail going to junk, right? You had to update some signature, link to a website or something. Like
Yeah, maybe
it's a
for
real
me,
issue.
something like that. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a real issue that most people aren't, thinking about. But okay, WiseStamp. So that works with Microsoft 365
No.
to oh,
Well, yeah, I mean, it does, but Sam, you probably have deployed this in larger groups. Don't you have to manually paste in the code in? You can't, there's no central management of the
oh,
They have a
signature.
connector. They do.
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah,
an
so
add-on for
it works
Outlook or
really well.
something, or so
Huh?
that's assuming is that assuming you're using Outlook, like the add-on, or is that just for every outgoing mail, regardless of your device,
It,
sending?
it's funny. I've been doing a lot with this as of very recently because and we were looking at Exclaimer actually because there was something we didn't like. But yeah, so Outlook has like you can deploy it through Microsoft admin. You can deploy it so it integrates as a function of an add-in, I should say, as Outlook.
Yes.
And
Okay.
then they have a Ystamp like local app that you can run for like Apple Mail to insert
Okay.
it into Apple Mail. I haven't used that in a while, but it's an app that you download, basically configure the signature to pop in there.
Yeah.
But so the one reason we were having issues and actually thinking about Exclaimer, but I didn't know what you just said, Joe, about the hosted
Yeah.
image.
Check the thread on. I think it's on the ACN channel on Slack where a few
Yeah,
people,
that's
yeah, agreed with
important
that. I know. Yeah, it is.
because the client wanted to switch because they're using HubSpot and
Mhm.
Exclaimer has a direct integration with HubSpot to apply a signature if they
Oh,
send out, and Ystamp does not. So
okay.
with that, we had to add a server side add-on to Entra, and I'm just
Hmm.
thinking as I'm talking for
Yeah.
Ystamp, so that anything not going out through Ystamp will automatically get the signature, thereby adding it to HubSpot. But it just kind of
Gotcha.
applies globally to anything that sends as you. So I'm not sure how great that
Right.
is, but
Yeah.
And
Which
Ystamp
is
is significantly more
interesting.
money, right?
it didn't turn out to be like it was like
Oh,
a
wow.
few
Okay.
cents per user difference. It
Oh,
was
wow.
Oh, okay.
pretty low, and I don't know if that's volume. I mean, this had like I think 100 addresses, so maybe that's
Hmm.
volume.
Yeah.
But
Jerry uses Ystamp.
so does
Okay. So
Sam.
that does he? Yeah.
Yeah.
See, to me, it just seems like this should be built in by, Microsoft. Like, why, you know, I mean,
Well, it
putting a
is, but it's
signature,
not a stylized signature.
right? I mean, you
Yeah,
can
it's
put a
crap.
disclaimer thing, right? Is that it's more for like a disclaimer on outgoing messages, isn't it? It's not like a styled,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
they're like, banner or whatever.
yeah, exactly, right. I don't know. It just seems like, yeah, the first party should do it, Microsoft specifically and Google for that matter. But to just have, yeah, like a stylized signature that's standardized across the board.
You
The other
want
thing
them to
this client, what's that?
sorry, I was gonna say you want them to Sherlock Wise stamp, basically.
Basically, and I wonder again, like, what's the lobby for like Wise Stamp and Exclaimer? These like signature company, lobbyists are like, making sure Microsoft doesn't, because yeah, I mean, they're getting like a dollar or two per person per month just for sticking a signature on every message. It just seems like something that should be built in. I'm sorry,
Well,
but
it's the same
you
reason
know,
why Google doesn't have a shared contacts methodology,
yeah,
for people in a
Mm,
group. And it's like they just don't want to be bothered, so they throw it out to
to third parties, which
third
is what I'm
parties.
paying for. Yeah,
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 that's
exactly.
annoying.
Yeah, I mean, this client wanted also like a certain font, like their font for their branding. And we had to explain, like, well, the recipient's typically not going to
hmm
have this font. So you probably should just use one of the, standard web fonts or
that's
like a
right.
generic font or whatever. But then some people I've seen creating their signature as a graphic that gets attached to every message. And it's like
Mm.
company logo, company name in a special font, their name, their title. What if their title changes later? Well, we'll make a new graphic, and like phone number, that's actually just a graphic, So it's all just one big, huge, like white background, black text, PNG, because that's the only way you can really ensure like you get the layout and the font and all the graphics and everything that you want. Still not
Yeah,
great, but that's
still
something
not
good.
great.
Yeah.
How about these emails that you get from these web technology companies? Maybe people that we know, and they have all these stinking badges in their
Oh
signature.
yeah. Voted the best,
Like,
top something.
oh
Yeah.
goodness gracious! I mean, do we really need that?
Right. Every
Who is
email
that
is an
for?
opportunity for marketing. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah, I wonder if you
exactly.
pay like I've never paid attention to that sort of thing. I admittedly used to have like my certs in my signature and stuff. I don't anymore, but
I
I don't
did a
think
long
anyone
time
cares.
ago. Yeah.
I don't think anyone cares. Like to Jerry's point,
I
I don't
was
think.
thinking of adding like how to get help because I mean, okay, how to get help. Well, you'd think it would be implied in the fact that I'm putting a phone number in the signature. Like that's how to get help, and like here's my website. You can send a ticket, whatever. But still people sort of wonder like, well, how do I know you've got Tim, like do you have somebody, an operations manager anymore, or, what should I do when I need you guys? I mean, you can try any method, we'll figure it out, right? You don't have to like follow a certain protocol, but what I do say is like you can email, here's our shared address, if it's time sensitive, call the main number and leave a voicemail in our leave a message in our shared voicemail. So I'm thinking of putting that in my signature so that it's just very clear like here's the way you can reach us because maybe I'm going to be off and they shouldn't just email me, they should call, they should email Tim or they should email the main address that we both share, and or call, call the main phone number. What, Jerry? Go to the
Is that
office
a
and I'll
hand?
walk. Let me hear it. Let's hear it.
No. With YStamp, and I'm
Yeah.
sure with these other ones too, you can create like a call to action button. So if you wanted to do that,
Okay.
you could just like get help now, like a big
Yeah.
red, button, and they press that, and that could just dump you into a web page that says, if this is immediate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Time,
Woo!
time, time sensitive. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, if this is
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
this is immediate, right? Or it can wait. You can send us an
Yeah.
email. You can call us, blah blah blah. So that would be a great solution for you, rather than trying to put that in your signature. That'd be too much
Yeah.
for somebody to read
I
with the
guess.
big red button. Get help now! Boom. I want to
Yeah.
press that. What
Yeah.
does that
Yeah.
take me? How do I get help?
Right. That's true. I could do it through like a central, yeah, just like a page in the site that tells you here's how to get help, Right.
Or
Just
a page that's not indexed. Just
Exactly.
a sub page that
Yeah.
isn't public facing.
Yeah.
Just make sure it works because I recently had like a get help from I forget who it was, but it was a company I was dealing with, and I clicked on their get help and it said, "Uh-oh, that page cannot be found." And
Oh,
I'm like,
that's
"It's
great. Yeah.
ridiculous."
Love seeing that. Yeah. That's funny. Oh man.
Oh
I
snap!
gotta research, yeah, the snap when you try to get help. That's always Lovely feature. But no, Exclaimer, I was surprised about that because everybody seemed to be singing its praises about, yeah, just, you can manage all this stuff. And yeah, there's no way to add an image that they host. So you have to just like, pre-host that. So I'm gonna do a little more research and I'll look into Wisestamp as well. Cause it sounds like similar, maybe some, they handle the images better, but they also have the same way of dealing with like which device you're sending from. There's either an add-on for Outlook if you're native, or if you're third party, then there's a different method. So I
Yeah.
got to look into that more. All right, guys. Well, thanks everybody out there for listening to another episode of Command Control Power. And to hear more from us, you can sign up on Patreon. Go to commandcontrolpower.com and click on support, and you get access to a lot more episodes out there in case you're not yet a patron of Command Control Power. We really appreciate you both listening and supporting Command Control Power. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next week.